This is how I beat Pokémon Infinite Fusion with only Minecraft fusions. We start off how every Pokémon game starts off, with choosing our starter. Well, okay, that's not a Minecraft fusion, but that's okay. I think it just, teleported away or something, because we've got our real starter here. Slugon. Anyways, it's a little lava block that we'll be calling Nether. Ain't that precious. We head into our first rival battle with our appropriately named rival, Herobrine, who has an admittedly scary fusion in Gible and Yanma. It's okay though, since Nether's got us covered and we easily win the battle. Herobrine puts up a hissy fit and we play errand boy to return the old man's fanny pack and pick up a new teammate along the way. You know, it's weird how the other half of these fusions just disappear, but it doesn't really matter. We now have Backward Snake the Etan, who isn't really a Minecraft mob or anything, but the sprite looks like it's straight out of Cobblemon, which counts in my book. This is probably a good time to quickly explain how this run is going to go down. If you couldn't tell by now, this is a randomized playthrough all the way from the wild Pokemon to the champion. I have a box full of Porygons and Splicers so we can get our blocky fusions ASAP. I'm setting level caps at gyms at the lowest level Pokemon that they have, no healing items in battle, and yeah. That's pretty much it. On with the rest of the narration. With our little duo here, we can finally make our way to Viridian Forest. There was one trainer who beat my ass, but I ate his ass instead. We eventually made it out of the forest after going on some shrooms here and there, and headed to Pewter City. I rushed to the gym, got my ass handed to me by Brock, realized that my Pokemon are both weak to any of Brock's Pokemon, and wallowed in my sadness in the grass. I found an abomination I realized I could use. One half just suddenly disappeared, and the remaining half turned into Shulker the Foragon. While I could have used Shulker to kamikaze one of Brock's Pokemon into oblivion, I know that this is not the way. Nether and Backward Snake desire redemption, so their ass got beat a couple more times, but eventually they got their dub. Brock gave me his badge and his 3 months overdue library DVD, and I made my way out. I waltzed into Route 3, was accosted by some lady, beat up some children along the way, thought that the nurses were finally unionized and were on strike, only to realize that apparently someone has been doing my job of beating up children for me. I went to a deep part of Mount Moon and found a 2-for-1 combo to add to this incredibly weak team. Sword the Poryedge, whose other fusion is definitely more Minecrafty, but this one is just better, and Slime the Celadon. Heading back into Mount Moon after the little fusion pit stop, I found a couple more fusions I could use in Bee the Begon and Skeleton the Dewgong. From there, I ended systemic bullying, lost the fossil that I was given, and proceeded to Cerulean City to check out battle Misty. Oh, okay. The fight wasn't too bad. Misty's Mudkip Bulbasaur fusion worked in my favor, being weak to Shulker's Bug Bite. And I exploded the incoming Pideel to try and get a cheeky feint on it, but it was just shy of finishing it off. The battle ended up being pretty close, but Sword's No Guard Fury Cutter made it for a deadly combo, and chopped up her bird like sushi. Okay, wait, no, why did I think that was funny? I didn't really know where I was going, so I went up from Cerulean City and was met by Soy Boy Herobrine. Nether beat up his Fletchpie with Psybeam, and did a lot of damage to Yanbite, who, by the way, is looking extra scary and cool these days, before going down itself. The rest was super easy, with Snake Backwards finishing off Yanbite, Igglyking, and Spearknot, all with a few super effective bites. Going into Route 24, I realized I probably should have gone here before the gym leader, but I blackmailed Bill into giving me his cruise tickets and skipped town to Vermilion City. The cruise was full of rich people, so I beat them up. I also met the fossil dude again and lost another one of his fossils, and after getting bored of bullying the rich though, I was met by Herobrine the Stalker again. He opened with Quillwile, which went down after a few Psybeams from Snake Backwards. Materion, the absolute abomination, came next and was taken out by a couple of Nether's Incinerates. I swapped out Nether for Snake Backwards when he sent out Slowian, but it was defeated by a confusion. B came in to clean up Snake Backwards' leftovers, And finally, out came his starter Giovanni, who is looking so much worse than before. The pre-evolution was definitely better here, so I used Sword to put it out of its misery. Snake Backwards tried to evolve, but I can't have that happening since it won't be nice and blocky if it evolves. The captain ate some of my roommate's cooking, so I fed him some Pepto-Bismol, and in return he taught me how to cut, I guess. I went into the gym and solved the stupidest puzzle known to man. And I entered the battle with Lieutenant Surge. He opened with his Stanroll, but for some reason he decided to swap into a fire type after seeing Shulker use Dig. I guess it's because Shulker is a bug type, but it clearly didn't end well for him. The Stanroll came out again and decided to end its own life with takedowns, and out came his ace Togeno, which ended Shulker's win streak, but Sword came in and ended the fight with a double sword stance boosted Shadow Sneak. I'm not gonna lie, I had no clue where I was going, so I just went to Route 11 and then to Route 12 only to see the infamous Snorlax. So I went all the way back to Cerulean City, beat up all the children on Route 9 and headed into the Anal Canal. I got lost in the sauce and ended up in a Zelda game and got another sword. I might use it later, but I don't really know at the time of writing this. I had a run-in with the strange-looking Nidoking, but eventually I was able to pull out and ended up in the town that made kids suicidal. Herobrine, the Radicateless bitch, pulled up to the cemetery and wanted to unalive my Pokemon. While he took down my slime, I was able to take out his Nidither with Snake Backwards, but his mommy, literally, got revenge. It even took out Nether, so now it's all down to Sword, who was able to take out mommy. Yonbite, after a couple of sword stances, fell too, and a quick brick break took care of his Ambichu, and we won the battle. Team Rocket was up to no good, and Herobrine told me to go to Celadon City, and I'm a little bitch boy, so I did exactly that. Along the way, though, I caught a Shroomish fusion that I used to get Tree the Shroogon, which, well, it resembles the shape of a Minecraft tree. Anyways, I messed around a bit in Celadon City and traded away someone else's Eevee for a Pokemon I'm never gonna use. The Diglett Ditto fusion also jumped at me from the trash, so I turned it into Stone the Digon. It definitely shares the stone texture you'd find in Minecraft, which is pretty neat. Eventually I went on a date in the sewers with a pretty girl in a kimono to beat up some bottom feeders. Her ex-boyfriend Chico Lord the Chad made up for my lackluster team, and sheer willpower made up for my lackluster brain in these children's puzzles. By the time I got to Giovanni though, I was down to basically no Pokemon left. He opened with Quackbat against my Nether. I had to sack Skeleton here to give Sword a safe switch in. I set up 3 sword stances with Sword before falling asleep. Luckily, because I was asleep, I couldn't get poisoned, which set up for what should have been an easy sweep. Sword took down Largar with a scary run-in with Sucker Punch, but fell to Quaichu after just missing the feint. It all came down to Nether, but it couldn't finish the job. After a few more failed attempts, I devised a plan to finally beat Giovanni. I'd revive Shulker, set up 3 layers of spikes, and explode. This was Shulker's true purpose on my team. Not as a Shulker box, but as a creeper. Anyways, with all of Shulker's support, Sword was able to go in easily and take down Giovanni. With Giovanni down, I rushed to see Kimono Mommy in her gym. She opened with Teddy Plume, which got taken down by Shulker's self-destruct after setting up its 3 layers of spikes. Crookshin took down Slime, but also took itself out on Sword's rocky helmet. And it even let me set up 1 sword stance. Milbro came in, and with a couple of slashes, the battle was over. Unfortunately, she only rewarded me with a badge instead of her number, but I digress. With the Silph Scope we got from beating Giovanni and another badge under our belt, I headed over to Pokemon Tower. In the tower, Sword evolved into, well, swords? Right as I was about to reach the top floor, some random haunted girl accosted me and almost wiped my entire team. Luckily, she only had 1 Pokemon, so Shulker was able to just self-destruct. The old man taught me the right way to use my mouth on the long wooden thing, so we can now wake up any sleeping Snorlaxes in our path. Our next destination with our recorder handy would be Fuchsia City. I did my little shimmy and fought the Snorlax. I ended up catching it to get its leftovers, but as soon as I got the leftovers, it disappeared from my box. Very strange. Anywho, Route 12, 13, and 14 were an absolute nightmare. With the shitload of trainers that I actively tried to avoid like the antisocial scum that I am, and even with all my careful avoiding, a couple of my Pokemon ended up being too overleveled for the gym, so Swords and Nether had to take a back seat on this gym. After struggling with the invisible children's puzzle, I finally reached Koga. An odd-looking Macargo came out first, but was instantly swapped out into Undour, which just got one-shot by Stone's Dig. Infercy came out next, so I swapped to Snake backwards, which took it out in a few acid sprays. Macargo was sent back out, so I sent out Stone again, to one-shot it with Dig. He then sent out his Ace Infrabuzz, which took out Snake backwards with a Discharge. But because of how this randomizer works, it was holding a black sludge, so it took itself out in the process and landed us our 5th gym badge. I then headed over to Saffron City to solve their terrorist problem. This whole time I'm not really sure what Sabrina was doing, but if this were Erika's city, she would be beating up Team Rocket, and this is why Erika is mommy. Just saying. At Silph Co, I struggled with the Children's Maze again for a solid hour, which led to Nether evolving into, well, a block of lava and obsidian now. Just as I was going to give Giovanni, the man literally holding people hostage and ass-beating, Herobrine the dumbass thought it'd be a good time to battle. He led with Bulbaram, who took out Shulker after it set up 2 layers of spikes, and Nether went down as well. Snake backwards finally finished it off, and out came Yawnbite, who took out Snake backwards, but not before getting paralyzed and getting its special defenses dropped. This let Slime easily clean up, only to get cleaned up itself by Glistor. It also took out Celadon, cause I misclicked teleport, and Swords came out to set up a couple of sword stance before taking it out. Then Vigos came out and went down to a slash. And Shedbite tried its best. In an unexpected turn of an alliance, Steve and Herobrine set aside what little physical differences they have to take down Giovanni together. While Shulker set up its usual spikes, Herobrine took out one of Giovanni's Pokémon, and then Shulker exploded and took down the Lucalu. Swampsparse took down the Golnape and Nether went down. Swords got a slash, Shadow Sneak, and Rocky Helmet damage in before going down, which let Herobrine's Crocchomp to defeat Giovanni's last Pokémon. I also got a Totodile that I sent into the eternal nothingness, and went into Sabrina's gym. After brute forcing all the teleport pads, I eventually found her. She opened with Klinkle, who got burned, leaving it as an easy target. But since Nether got screeched, I opted to switch out into Skeleton, who took it out with a couple of Nightshades. Yanodon came out, and so did Nether, who lava plumed and burned it for a one-shot. Unfortunately, Nether got one-shotted in return by the incoming Ferrotic's Hydro Pump, and Skeleton suffered the same fate. Slime came out but got self-destructed, so I guess that's one way to deal with that. Her last Pokemon was Lizor, and a couple of sword stances and a brick break closed out the battle and secured us our 6th gym badge. After all that, I decided to take a little break to reverse our starter into its true form. A nice little nether portal, just like the name was intended. Now that's what I like to call foreshadowing. Not really, but just let me have this one, okay? I also was sort of soft-locked where I was since I didn't have a Pokemon that could use Surf, but it's okay. I went back to Pallet Town and worked my way around the map, touching some grass and fishing, and eventually I got a Qwilfish fusion to make Guardian the Quilgon. With Guardian, we can now give Snake backwards a much-deserved rest and continue our journey. After making it to Cinnabar Island, we're told that Team Rocket is going to grab the legendary Pokemon Moltres for their science project, so we have to stop them. That is, until I got stopped by another children's puzzle, but this time, Water Edition! Woo! Eventually, I got through it somehow and beat up all the grunts in Mount Ember. Giovanni's Zapmolcuno is regarded to be one of the hardest fights in the game, but luckily I had a plan. I'll shut up for once and just let you watch it all unfold. Anyways, after ratioing the literal adult who is beefing with a child, it's time to continue getting our badges. We found the local furry thinking about his Mewtwo fursuit, told him he has a job and shouldn't be concerning himself with trivial things like hobbies, and aced his stupid children's quiz so we can finally battle him. He opened with Benchula, which basically let Shulker set up spikes for free, and eventually even went down to Shulker. Honryon came out next, which took out Shulker, but it was able to take it down to half health. This let Guardian finish it off with a quick Aqua Tail. Miminape came out next, which took out Guardian, but Guardian was able to get it down into the red for Swords to Shadow Sneak. Gyaratung was last, but it let Swords set up Sword Stance and finished it off with Iron Head to take our 7th gym badge. We now quickly head back to the second city of the game to give Giovanni an ass whooping yet again, but this time as a gym leader instead of an organized crime boss. I struggled in a children's puzzle for the last time hopefully, and am met face to face with the final gym leader. He opened with Zapmolcuno, which let Shulker set up 3 layers of spikes and take all of Giovanni's potions before switching out into Skiptar to just get 1 shot. He sent in Whimsicharp, and I stayed in with Shulker who had 1 HP. Honestly, I thought it'd be funny if Quick Claw let me explode, and it did. I swapped in Nether, who I reversed before the battle to take away its grass weakness, and give it a stab Lava Plume, which it used to take out Whimsicharp. His Torsion came out next, which got Lava Plumed. Zapmolcuno came back, and I knew it was on red, so I sent in Swords, but it just got taken out by spikes before it could do anything. Frashsaur was his last Pokemon, which Swords was able to get into the red before going down, so Nether came in to finish the job with Lava Plume. And with that, we have all 8 of our gym badges, and we can now proceed to the Elite Four and Champion. But with our 8 badges, we have to do one little thing before we face the final obstacle in our journey. I took a quick trip to Goldenrod City to pick up the Dubious Disc and complete our roster of Minecraft fusions. First, we unfuse Swords into its lesser form. Then, we fuse it back into the lesser, but less lesser form. Shove an upgrade into it to make it look like that. Use a dust stone on it to turn it into and add a dash of Dubious Disc to that. And alright, yeah. So we just need to reverse it, and there we go. Shield the Pori Slash is here. With a bit of preparation beforehand, it's now time to finish this thing. On the way to Victory Road, Herobrine says he'll whip me, which on any normal day, yes, but there's a time and place for everything, just not now. He opens with Inferzor, which takes out Shulker, but it's able to get its 3 spikes off. Guardian comes in and misses 3 Aqua Tails and goes down. Now though is the perfect test for Shield. By swapping between Nasty Plot and King Shield, it can easily get max special attack, and from there it's a simple sweep. Inferzor goes down, Dewtails goes down, Magnetos goes down, then Glacoth, Yonbite, and finally Perfan. Now we can really head to the Elite Four, and by that I mean struggle with more children's puzzles. Okay, now it's really time for the final challenge. First up is Lorelei, the fighting type Elite Four who opened up with Hitmonlee. Thanks to Sturdy, Shulker was able to work in a layer of spikes against the opposing Hitmonlee. Guardian was able to get all of her full restores out of the way, and Slime finally ended the Hitmonlee with a Psychic, but got taken out itself by the Magnape. Skeleton did its little burn and confuse hacks and took it out. Moss came in and took down both Skeleton and Nether, so it all came down to Shield to take down the last 3 Pokemon. Moss, Q-Choke, and Slowblade all were taken down by it pretty easily. Next up was Bruno, the Dragon-type Elite Four. Shulker, Slime, and Skeleton tried their best against the Salamer, but were all taken out by its Hydro Pump. Guardian finally finished it off with a Poison Jab, but Dewgong came in for revenge. Thanks to the unreliability of Dragon Rush, Nether was actually able to take out the Dewgong and even got a nice little burn on the incoming Dit Knight. From there, I think you could tell how the rest of this battle with Shield went. The third member was Agatha, the Electric-type Elite Four. Shulker went in with its usual opening against Haxtula before fainting. Skeleton burned her full restores and left Haxtula both burned and confused, leaving Guardian with an easy cleanup. Poryode almost took down Guardian, even freezing it, but luckily we thought out the same turn and completed the Poison Jab. The following Deotick ended Guardian's streak with a single discharge, but Nether came in to finish it off with a Tri-Attack, and was even able to take down the following Agekid with a Flamethrower. The final Pokemon, Lurai, came in and took out both Nether and Slime with its powerful electric moves. But this was an easy closer for Shield. The final member of the Elite Four was Lance the Ghost-type trainer. I think you could guess what Shulker did in this battle by now. Koffidon was then switched out into Sprout that missed like 4 to 5 slams in a row before taking out Guardian. Slime finished it off with a Psychic, but Koffidon came out again and was able to get both Slime and Skeleton with an Earthquake. Shield was able to take out the Koffidon using its usual nasty plot King Shield setup, but the one thing I feared came out, a Duskpalm. A normal Ghost-type Pokemon that Shield can't hit since it only has normal and Ghost-type attacks. So I had to switch out into Nether, and luckily, Nether was able to take it out with a combination of Rocky Head, Burn, and Flamethrower. Polyette came out, so I sent in Shield to take it out with its usual setup. The final Pokemon was this really awesome Celebi and Aegislash fusion, but it quickly fell to Shield since it was able to set up against the Polyette from before. At last, we've reached the final battle. Steve versus Herobrine. Shulker did Shulker things. Mr. Gonzi obliterated Slime with Tri-Attack, so I did what any reasonable human being would do and sent in Shield. I think its only attack move was Tri-Attack because it let me set up nasty plots for free, so I think you see how this battle is going to go. Is what I would say, but after taking out the Houndtoys, Shield was defeated by Yanchomp, who switched out afterwards. From there, I had to send in Guardian to take down Herobrine's Celeking with a couple of poison jabs. Then I tried using Skeleton to take out Yanchomp, but yeah, that didn't work. Jinsek came out after the U-turn, so I used Guardian's Revenge to take it out. And Aquatail was able to finish off the incoming Yanchomp, and now all that was standing between Steve and the champion title was the final Pokemon, Lopflame, which was easily defeated by Guardian's Poison Jab. And with that last Poison Jab, Steve has beaten Herobrine. The Minecraft man has become the Pokemon champion. And what are we to make of this arduous journey, filled with friends, hardships, and blocks? Well, to that, my friends, there's only one conclusion. Minecraft is better than Pokemon.